Welcome in. This is Chiefs Chase. My name is Mike Bassano, and thank you so much for joining me for the Chiefs post game as Kansas City is 7-0, baby. The Chiefs beat the Raiders in Las Vegas 27-20 to improve to 7-0 in a game that involved an onside kick that's going to put me on heart medication. I can't with this, man. Every week, the cardiac Chiefs make my heart explode through my chest. But then, in the end, I am left so happy and so grateful for what this team is this year. I am so excited to talk about this game. We have so much to get to, and let's start it right off. The Chiefs are doing something historic. And I don't think enough people are talking about it. I don't think enough people are giving the Chiefs the credit that they deserve for the historic run they're on right now. And we'll tell you what that history run is in just a few minutes. But first, this show, we have got to start off talking about number 15. Patrick Mahomes. Stay with me on this because it's a very true statement. Patrick Mahomes is having his best season as a pro. And I know all the nerds, and well, we say nerds when we talk about stats, right? But that's not true. Nerds watch the games. Losers, lazy people, they look at statistics and decide, well, that's the measurement of somebody's career, is those statistics. What he did in this game, look at those numbers. That's lazy people who aren't watching the game. People who are watching the game, they're understanding that Patrick Mahomes is doing something different this year. He's playing with, a hodgepodge of guys who are injured, right? So you got to bring in Kareem Hunt, get chemistry back with him. Bring in DeAndre Hopkins, get chemistry with him. Juju Smith-Schuster's out. Hollywood Brown is out. Rashee Rice is out. So he has a lot to deal with. And yet in every big moment, in every big third down, in every system-defining play for the Chiefs. Those plays where you're like, my God, they got to pull this one out. Patrick Mahomes always finds a way to make the biggest play in the biggest moment and bail the Kansas City Chiefs out. Oftentimes this year, it's been done with his legs. We've seen a lot of great runs from Patrick Mahomes, and today was no different than that. We've seen him manage the game beautifully. Because this team is not asking him to throw 50 touchdowns. Not only is that a tough order because of his supporting cast, but it's something he doesn't necessarily need to do because of how phenomenal Steve Spagnuolo's defense is playing. That takes so much pressure off of Mahomes, but what it does is it asks him to play in a different way. And that way is the opposite of reckless. If Mahomes wanted 50 touchdowns, he could get close. He's good enough to, but he would have to play in a reckless way that would put the Chiefs in position to lose games. What Patrick Mahomes is doing right now is he's putting the Chiefs in a position to win games by making smart plays, not going for the big touchdown, not going for the over the top, not putting the ball in a position where it can go the other way. Yeah, one unlucky interception today. Those happen. Get over it. That goal line stand, we'll get to that goal line stand now. I'm already excited just thinking about the goal line stand. But what Patrick Mahomes has done is create a completely different player than what we've seen. A guy that fits the Chiefs system way better than a previous Patrick Mahomes because he's managing the game. He's making big plays in big moments instead of trying to make big plays all the time. And while that might look a little bit different to some fans on the stat sheet, for anybody who's actually watching these games, Patrick Mahomes is playing lights out. He's a 7-0 quarterback. He's a winner. And he's been that way because he's able to adjust to what the Chiefs need him to be. You don't need him to be a guy who's throwing X amount of touchdowns, X amount of yards. You need him to be a guy who keeps drives on schedule and makes big plays in big moments. That is the recipe for Patrick Mahomes being a Super Bowl quarterback in 2024, and he is cooking. So let him keep cooking, baby. God dang. Today, Patrick Mahomes had 27 for 38, 262 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He was locked in. Did that have something to do with the Kermit the Frog thing from the offseason that we had a little bit of talk about this week? Yeah, everybody talked a little bit about it. Raiders in training camp. I'm here, with their stupid little frog trying to make fun of Patrick Mahomes. You wanted to poke the bear? Well, the bear came out and just kicked your ass again in Las Vegas, remains undefeated at the Raiders. 7-0 on the road against the Raiders. The Raiders are the laughingstock of the NFL when it comes to playing at home against the Chiefs. Because not only is Patrick Mahomes 7-0 against the Raiders, he's undefeated in Allegiant Stadium, also winning the Super Bowl last year. So really, when it all comes down to it, you can have your little Kermit puppet, you can have your little fun in training camp, but in the end, Patrick Mahomes is your daddy. And he's going to keep being your daddy. All you're doing is making fun of your father. Stop making fun of your father, guys. It's classless, it's tasteless, and then he'll just come home, take out the belt, and make sure you lose again. That's why you got to stop being what the Raiders are, which is a bunch of clowns running around masquerading as a football team. Maybe it fired him up a little bit. I don't know. The guy's been good, though, man. I'm trying to make sure I don't miss anything off of this, what I wanted to talk about here with Patrick Mahomes, because you don't need the big numbers. You need points, and you need more points than the other team. That's what Patrick Mahomes has been focused on this whole year. Taking care of the football, moving the chains, doing better. That's it. It reminds me a lot, this Spags Chiefs defense and this Chiefs team overall. It reminds me a lot of the 2015 Broncos, who won a Super Bowl with Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning could have put up better numbers that year. But it was this thing where it was like, well, why put up better numbers if you know your defense is going to be able to handle it? So your job is to manage the game. And don't go outside of yourself. Don't push too far. Take your shots here and there. But for the most part, you're just moving the ball. As Hank Stram would say, matriculating the ball downfield, boys. That's this offense. You don't need big chunk plays. They're nice to have here and there, but you don't have to force them. This isn't 2018 with Bob Sutton where you have to throw 50 touchdowns. You just don't. So Patrick Mahomes making it look like kind of the 2015 Broncos. He is not only, in my opinion, the greatest quarterback to ever breathe air, but Patrick Mahomes is also the perfect quarterback for this team. The reason for that is because he doesn't have this big, earth-shattering ego that walks into the locker room like, hey, I got to get my MVP numbers, all right? So forget about your wins, your little defensive philosophy. I got to get my numbers. There's a lot of quarterbacks like that. You might not think there is because everybody's media trained now, but if you just look around, there's a lot of players and quarterbacks that say, I don't really care about what your philosophy is, coach. I want to get mine. Patrick Mahomes is the antithesis of that kind of player. He is kind of the guy that's going to spark everybody up and say, no, let's get behind everybody moving in the same direction. Let's go win some football games, which makes Patrick Mahomes by far the greatest quarterback for this 2024 Chiefs team imaginable. And I think nobody else in the league could take this team to 7-0. Now, the Chiefs have one player who is criminally underrated. We'll tell you who that player is coming up in just a few minutes. But first, the Chiefs are doing something historic. This 2024 Chiefs defense might be one of the greatest defenses of all time. When you think back to the 2000 Ravens, the 2006 Bears, the 2009 Steelers, the 2015 Broncos, I could keep going on and on and on with some of the greatest defenses of all time. Did they have Nick Bolton? No. But did they have George Karlaftis, Chris Jones, Trent McDuffie, Justin Reed? I want to keep going. Mike Pennell. I can go all the way through because every person on that defense, every single guy on the Chiefs defense is making impact plays in dramatic fashion. That goal line stand is one of the greatest things I've ever seen in my entire life. And I'm a huge defense guy. I love defense. This Chiefs defense is one of the best they've ever had, arguably the best they've ever had, and they are playing as a unit. They're gelled together something fierce, and Steve Spagnuolo has those boys crushing the competition. Hell, the fact the Raiders scored 20 points, that's an accomplishment for the Raiders. 20 points against this defense, that's an accomplishment for the Raiders. That's how huge this defense was. and how good they've been all season long. That goal line stand after the Patrick Mahomes touchdown was one of the most incredible performances I've ever seen of any defense in the entire NFL, man. An unbelievable front. I mean, first of all, Drew Tranquill. Let's go. One of the more underrated players, I think, in the NFL. Drew Tranquill, when it comes to stepping up and stopping the run, is an absolute monster. By every definition, he is an absolute beast. Comes across the line, he hits hard, and he's a very sure tackler. Big on that goal line stand. Also, George Karlaftis, obviously, with the sack on 4th and goal, a huge part. Getting penetration. This whole defensive line in Kansas City is like... I wasn't there for how the British must have felt during the Revolutionary War, where you just had a defense lined up that you couldn't penetrate past, and the Americans won the war to gain independence. I wasn't there, but I assume it was something similar to what the Chiefs' defensive line is now, an impenetrable force that sometimes just comes across and pops you in the mouth. That's who the Chiefs' defense reminds me of. Yes, the American soldiers from the Revolutionary War. It's the only comparison. 2007 Ravens didn't, or 2000 Ravens didn't have a George Karlaftis. They had a Ray Lewis, but they did not have a George Karlaftis. I'm telling you, this defense is off the charts, man. They've solidified. I think that goal line stand should be the thing that everybody's talking about with this game, and it really, in my opinion, solidified the Chiefs as the premier defense in the NFL and put them in the conversation with the best defenses in history. They're undefeated. That also puts you in the conversation. But the fact is, even if you took the record away from it and you just looked at the way this defense plays, the way they fly around the ball, teams fear the Chiefs' defense now. They fear Steve Spagnuolo. Early on in the game when Gardner Minshew had his scripted plays, I was a little worried. Not going to lie, I was a little bit worried. But as the game went on and it became clear that Gardner Minshew wasn't going to be enough, once you get out of those scripted plays, you really see how great the coaches are. Because the teams like the Raiders, they're going to get ready for a long time, right? They're going to be ready for the Chiefs. So they're going to come out with a pretty good script. So they drove down, scored a touchdown, 7-7. But once they got out of the scripted play, Steve Spagnuolo started to confuse Gardner Minshew, started to get the Raiders a little bit frustrated with themselves, brought different pressures, confused him, and then, boom, the Chiefs' defense cruises. And I know that last touchdown to make it 27-20, they're playing a little softer and all that. Had they played aggressive defense and were able to stuff them, they might have held the team to 13 points. But I understand. You got a 2-touchdown lead. Ego defense wouldn't be the move there. If they score, they score. But they did the thing where they only score with enough time where they had to kick an onside kick, and that onside kick, if the Chiefs recover it, the game's over. And that's exactly what happened. Beautiful defensive performance. Also, another thing to discuss when it comes to defense and the way that they pressure, create turnovers, shut teams down. This team's ability to crush and demoralize running backs is one of the best I've ever seen in the history of the NFL. Not only did the Chiefs make Derrick Henry look like a bum in week 1, the Chiefs in week 1 made Derrick Henry look like a shell of himself. Everybody was like, oh, well, that's it. Derrick Henry's washed. Well, it turns out that's not the case at all. Derrick Henry is still the best running back in the NFL, but the Chiefs' defense is so suffocating. Today, Alexander Mattison, 14 carries for 15 yards. That is a nightmare of a stat line for a running back. 14 carries for 15 yards? It's a nightmare of a stat line. But that's what this Chiefs defense does, baby. It just suffocates a running back, crushes him over and over and over again. They made Derrick Henry look washed in week 1, and they made Alexander Mattison look like somebody who shouldn't even be on an NFL practice squad. That's what Steve Spagnuolo's been doing to these offenses, and that's how the Chiefs have been demoralizing teams en route to 7-0 every single week, taking their running back out of the game, making the quarterback beat you by himself, himself and then disguising blitzes so Steve Spagnuolo can paint like Michelangelo and crush your entire offense. I love this Chiefs defense more than I love anything. I'm telling you right now, more than I don't have kids, but it's a good caveat to throw out there. But I love this Chiefs defense more than I love anything. They are everything I've always wanted the Chiefs to be, because I'm a big defensive guy. I've always loved defense, and I've always wanted the Chiefs to have a monstrous defense that could suffocate teams and win Super Bowls. And for the last 2 years, the Chiefs have had that defense. Now, the Cardiac Chiefs always playing close, but I think there's actually a reason why the Chiefs are always playing close, and I think people aren't giving it enough credit. I'll tell you what that is here in just a few minutes, but first, the Chiefs have one player who is criminally underrated, just absolute BS underrated. And this is going to surprise you a little bit as to who I say, but it's very true. Patrick Mahomes has been criminally underrated his entire career because he's been so good from the very beginning that when he crosses these major milestones, 30,000 passing yards in his career, the earliest to ever get there by a handful of games, by 6 games, the earliest to ever reach the 30,000 yard passing mark, and we treat it as a side note. It's an aside. People are like, oh yeah, okay. Because that's how good Patrick Mahomes is. He's become underrated. He's so dominant in every single facet. He plays better than every other quarterback in the NFL. And as a result, the bar of expectations for Patrick Mahomes is set at an unrealistic height. So he crosses these major milestones. Beautiful 16-yard pass to DeAndre Hopkins, breaks the 30,000 career passing yards barrier, and we all go, okay. You won't read about it anywhere. It's a footnote from the game. But more and more, it just shows me how underrated Patrick Mahomes is, that he crosses these massive milestones and people just kind of move on from him because they're used to him passing massive milestones. They're used to Patrick Mahomes shattering records left and right. So as long as that keeps happening, I think Patrick Mahomes is going to remain underrated. It's unfortunate, because Patrick Mahomes is absolutely one of the greatest quarterbacks ever. I think the greatest quarterback ever. And also, undeniably, just an unbelievable player. Yet, people want to take their shots, right? Oh, he's been carried by this. He's been carried by that. He's been carried. Mahomes has broken all of these records already. He's on pace to beat countless more records. Probably every career record as a quarterback, Mahomes is on pace to beat. This creates a lot of envy among other NFL fans. That's what this is. And that's why I think we see underrated. I can make the argument all day. Patrick Mahomes is one of the most underrated players in the NFL. Without question. He passes these massive milestones, and people still are like, oh, well, I think he's been carried a little bit. Where were all of Andy Reid's Super Bowl rings before Patrick Mahomes? See, this is kind of nice for Kansas City. We don't have the problem that New England had. New England had a bit of an issue. They won all these championships. They won all of these games. But in the end, there was a question. Who deserves the credit? Is it Bill Belichick? Is it Tom Brady? Is it Robert Kraft? Well, before Andy Reid came to Kansas City, Clark Hunt had a disastrous 2012, and he had a disastrous run since taking over as owner. Not really any fault of his own. He went and got Scott Pioli. Scott Pioli was the apple of everybody's eye, so it made sense to go get Scott Pioli. But once he got Andy Reid, well, that changed the entire franchise. But Andy still couldn't get over the hump, right? 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. That's 5 years of Alex Smith at quarterback. And Alex Smith is a damn good quarterback, but he's not Patrick Mahomes. And Andy Reid had a long time in Philadelphia, no Super Bowls. There is a reason why Andy Reid, after all these years of no Super Bowls, has won 3 Super Bowls in 5 years of Patrick Mahomes. There's a reason. is because Patrick Mahomes is the best player who's ever breathed air, and he's still somehow criminally underrated throughout the entire NFL because for whatever reason, you guys can't hop off your little pedestals, stop reading your little stat books, and actually watch and understand a football game to see that Patrick Mahomes is not only the GOAT, but you should be thanking your lucky stars that you're alive at a time where you get to see Patrick Mahomes play football. Moving on. One player erupted today, and it couldn't have been better timing for the Chiefs for him to come into his own today. We'll tell you who that is coming up in just a few minutes. But first, the Cardiac Chiefs, man, they are always playing close. There's never a time where the Chiefs just aren't playing close. They're just like, oh, yeah, no, we're not going to blow this team out. We're going to keep it a one score. Yeah, we're keeping it one to two scores. The Chiefs have not won a game by more than 2 scores all season. And honestly, I don't think they're going to. You know why? Every team treats the Kansas City Chiefs like their Super Bowl. Every team. They look at the Chiefs and they say, this is our Super Bowl this year because the team who beats the Chiefs, especially now that they're the only undefeated team in the NFL and 7-0, every team that plays the Chiefs prepares for the Chiefs like it's their Super Bowl. They take multiple weeks. We see it every week. The very beginning of the game, what do you have? 15 scripted plays for the opposing offense that somehow works because they spent all this time preparing for the Kansas City Chiefs. And then Spags and Andy start making their adjustments and the Chiefs pull away. That's been the entire year. This is what happens when you're the king. Everybody's going to give you your best shot. And some games are not going to be as pretty as other games, right? Some games aren't going to be the pretty game that we want it to be. They're going to be frustrating. Teams are going to play uncharacteristically well. But what I really don't appreciate is this ridiculous narrative that the Chiefs are somehow playing down to their competition because the reality of the situation is the competition is playing up to the Chiefs. This is what happens after a Super Bowl year, right? You get a target on your back. Well, the Chiefs have 2 of them. So double the size of that target. They're going after a three-peat. And they're the most publicly hated team in the entire NFL. You know why that is? Because they're good. Yeah, because they're good. Other teams miss holding calls all the time, but you don't hear about it because they're not the Chiefs. So every team will put everything they have into trying to crush the Chiefs, crush their fan base, crush everybody who thinks the Chiefs are good. They're going to put everything they can into trying to make the Chiefs lose. Every team is coming in with their full arsenal. Think for a second. I know we talked about this before the season and it's kind of understood this is a thing that's happening, but I don't understand why everyone suddenly is judging the Chiefs as if, why aren't they playing perfectly? Well, if every team is giving you your best shot, you're not going to. The fact that Chiefs are 7-0 right now is absolutely mind-blowing because every team wants to cut them down like a tree, man. They're getting the best shot every single week. Every team. They're spending weeks to prepare for the Kansas City Chiefs. Yet these guys have resolve. They dig deep. Whether it's the defense coming up with a big-time goal line stand after an interception to get the ball back, or Patrick Mahomes coming through in the clutch of a major situation, the Chiefs are built to be the hunted. And right now, you can't get them. Everybody's trying. Everybody's putting everything they have in their arsenal out there. Different formations, different personnel groupings, things you'll never see on their film leading up to the Chiefs game. They implement because the Chiefs are their Super Bowl. And still, the Kansas City Chiefs are 7-0. They don't mind being hunted because they pick up that gun and point it right back at you, baby. That's what I'm talking about. Chiefs, fire me up, man. Get me fired up. Whoo, because that first drive for Las Vegas was scary. They had a ton of prep put into this game. You could tell from the second that it started. They had a ton of prep for the Kansas City Chiefs. Yet still, in the end, the Chiefs are the Chiefs. The Raiders are the Raiders. 7-0. Here we go. And by the way, I do want to make sure, I've already reiterated this a little bit, but a few things before we move on. A few things. It'll only get harder from this point. as the Chiefs continue to win, the amount of preparation that other teams will put into trying to stop the Chiefs, it's going to keep going up like stock market, baby. It's going to keep going up, 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 up. Well, the stock market under a good president, it's going to keep going up, 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 up. And it's election week. I can't help it. Is it election week or is that next week? Who cares? Either way, we're having fun. It's next week. Doesn't matter. We're having fun. But like under a good president, Chiefs, that effort level from other teams is going to keep going up, and it's going to keep being harder for the Kansas City Chiefs. But I do not care because nobody else in the entire NFL is getting the kind of shot the Chiefs are getting, right? This is a truth. Think about this. No one else in the NFL do teams want to beat more than the Kansas City Chiefs. But no one else in the entire NFL is 7-0. No one else in the entire NFL is undefeated. Everybody wants to beat the Chiefs. They want to give them their best shot, and that makes the fact that they're undefeated and nobody else is undefeated way more impressive. Absolutely one of the most incredible stats in the entire NFL year is that while the Chiefs are getting everyone's best wound up punch, nobody else is undefeated. Only the Chiefs are, while taking everybody's best shot. Suck on that, NFL fans. Woo! All right. Now, DeAndre Hopkins is a Chief, and what he was able to do today actually went a little under the radar, and I don't know how many people are going to be talking about it, but we absolutely will tell you what he did in just a few minutes. But first, one Chiefs player erupted today, and it couldn't have come at a better time. Travis Kelce, baby, let's go! Oh, let's look at the line. 10 receptions, 90 yards, 1 touchdown. Travis Kelce, the aircraft carrier, the Big Yeti, back on top. That's what we've been looking for, Travis. He came out against the Las Vegas Raiders. I keep wanting to call them Oakland. He came out against Las Vegas and made them look like a team that had never seen Travis Kelce before. 10 catches? You let 87 get loose for 10 catches, 90 yards and a touchdown? Whoo, baby, we've been waiting for Travis to get in the end zone for a while now. And even leading up to that touchdown, I was sending texts to people like, hey, this is it. This is the time you have got to get Travis in the end zone. And then they did it. And I'm like, thank God. Now, I think I've sent that text like 8 times this year. But this time it happened. Manifesting. That's how manifesting works. You just keep saying it. And then eventually it happens. And you're like, look what I did. No, but let me tell you something. Travis Kelce on the scoreboard is something we have been waiting for all season long, with all the chirpers, all the haters all around. Like, Travis Kelce fell off. He's in his washed era. He's been spending too much time with Taylor Swift and not enough time on football. Well, what are you saying now? 10 catches, 90 yards, and a touchdown, and a 7-0 record. Do you have something to say to Travis? What was it? What did you want to say? I love watching Travis Kelce get over on everybody, partly because I know how hated he is, and I don't think it's fair. I've never thought the hatred toward Travis Kelce, whether it was early in his career from Chiefs fans and other fan bases, or now from other fan bases, I don't think it's warranted. I don't think it's fair. I think Travis Kelce is a really good guy who has a lot of personality and a lot of fun. And the NFL loves him, and so does Taylor Swift. And that bothers everybody, and that makes me only love him more. Like, the amount of hatred Travis Kelce gets for no reason at all only makes me want him more, or love him more, because what he does... Some people are going to have fun with that little swip, aren't they? What he does that is so impressive is he has everybody keen on him. He has everybody saying, we aren't going to let Travis Kelce beat us. And part of that is because of ego. It's because defensive coordinators don't want to go home to their kids and tell them about how Travis Kelce scored a touchdown on them. The Raiders coaches have to deal with that tonight. So a lot of teams have been keen on Travis Kelce. trying to make sure that Travis Kelce can't be the guy who beats them. Well, guess what, Las Vegas Raiders? You lose! Because not only do they lose by 7 points, which means Travis Kelce quite literally beat the Raiders today. So now all those players with kids and coaches with kids, you have to go home and hear from your kids about, hey, I heard Taylor Swift's boyfriend scored a touchdown on you. Buzzing! Listen, if you don't think that's a thing, it is. Trust me, I've talked to people around the NFL. It's 100% a thing. And why wouldn't it be? It's a pride thing. So Travis Kelce's been dealing with that. Today, he got loose. He does that a lot against the Raiders throughout the years. Today was one of the best days for Travis Kelce that I've ever seen. He was moving into the right spots of the zone. He was on the same page as Patrick Mahomes, and he was coming up with big plays in big situations. That's what we've been looking for, and Travis has been doing really well the last few weeks, but he hadn't quite found pay dirt yet. Getting to see Travis find pay dirt, oh my God, that was the best part of the game. It was the best. Actually, the goal line stand was, because I've never seen, that was one of the most incredible things I've ever seen. But knowing how much it angers people that Travis Kelce scores makes me so happy, because I know how mad it makes you. You know what I mean? Like, that's part of it. I know how mad it makes you when Travis Kelce does well. So it makes me even happier. I want the opposing fan tears as Taylor's boyfriend crushes their souls. That's what I want. Oh, and the best is yet to come for Travis Kelce. He's just now starting to get into his groove, starting to get into his era of playing. That happens with Travis. Slow starts are nothing new for Travis Kelce, but lately he has been showing up every single week and putting up fantastic numbers. It's awesome that now we're at a time where we actually are seeing him not just put up fantastic numbers, but get into the end zone. Big time game for Travis Kelce. All right, now we will leave you with one player who should be getting his flowers this year, and we'll tell you who that is. We will give this man his flowers. The Chiefs need him. He's been fantastic. He's flying under the radar, and we're going to give him his flowers coming up in just a few minutes. But first, DeAndre Hopkins made his debut today, baby. Oh, yeah! DeAndre Hopkins, let's go. He got the first catch. Oh, tell me you didn't get fired up about that. When they came out in the first drive, threw to DeAndre Hopkins, and you went, oh, it's like that, is it? It's like that here in these streets with DeAndre Hopkins being an absolute monster. Let's go. That's the exciting part. When you see what DeAndre Hopkins will be in a few weeks, today was just a little taste. 2 receptions for 29 yards. It's going to take time to get into rhythm. We saw one misfire because of that. No big deal. What DeAndre Hopkins really did today is he pulled focus. Travis Kelce had 10 receptions for 90 yards and a touchdown. That's because the defense suddenly has to pay attention to another wide receiver out there. And it's a big-time player that, you know, if you don't key on DeAndre Hopkins at all, if you just let DeAndre Hopkins go off, do his thing, just be DeAndre, running around, blah, 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 he's going to destroy you. So they had to key on DeAndre Hopkins at least a little bit. But that little bit of keying on DeAndre Hopkins opened up the floodgates for Travis Kelce. And that is one of the major reasons why Brett Veach went and got DeAndre Hopkins. So that when things are going, oh, well, we aren't sure if we can get him the ball. You need stars on your team so they can pull focus, so that Travis Kelce can get his. And there will be times where they're more focused on Kelce and Worthy, and then boom, DeAndre Hopkins is in the end zone. But you need to have a guy like DeAndre Hopkins so you can have a number 1 wide receiver to pull focus. And as the season develops, as we see DeAndre Hopkins become more comfortable with Patrick Mahomes, we are going to see a totally different player than what we saw today. However, I thought what we saw today was really promising. I feel very positive and very optimistic going forward about DeAndre Hopkins in Kansas City. And I'd feel a little weird for anyone who doesn't, right? I'd feel a little weird for anyone who doesn't feel excited about DeAndre Hopkins' future, because what he's able to do as far as pulling focus of the defense changes the entire dynamic of the Kansas City Chiefs. Now you give him some time to get the playbook, get his legs better, get a rhythm with Mahomes, get some chemistry with Mahomes. Oh, baby. By Thanksgiving, we are going to be singing the praises of DeAndre Hopkins on this show. Mark my words. Now, before we get out of here, it is National Tight End Day. A happy National Tight End Day to you, as it is one of my favorite days. I played tight end growing up. And I loved playing tight end. It was because you get to maul people in their trenches, and then you get to go catch passes and be like, "Hey, girls, what's up? I caught that." You get the best of both worlds, man. So you get to play tight end. National Tight End Day. It's a good day. And on this day, we are going to give an underrated, overlooked Chief his flowers, Noah Gray. Noah Gray has, it's so interesting because I was looking at his numbers and I thought they were going to be better than they were. Because if you look at the Chiefs, like if you've watched every game, whistle to whistle, line to line, whatever it's called, I have. Noah Gray comes up with huge catches in massive situations. And that's the thing. He did it today, right? It looked like the Chiefs were going to lose on a third down. Noah Gray came up with a catch. Today, he only had a couple of catches. He has 14 receptions for 185 yards on the season. But I feel like 12 of those 14 catches have come in dire situations where the Chiefs really needed a guy to come up and step in and make a play. So that's what I keep coming back to with Noah Gray. He might not have incredible numbers, but he deserves his flowers because the amount of big-time clutch catches we've seen from Noah Gray thus far is absolutely mind-blowing. It's something everyone should be talking about. This guy has been clutch in massive moments on a consistent basis. So today, as the Chiefs go 7-0, beating the Raiders 27-20. Noah Gray, here are your flowers for making big-time catches and big-time plays, and a very happy National Tight Ends Day to you, sir. This has been Chiefs Chase. I'm Mike Bassano. The Kansas City Chiefs are 7-0. Boom, baby! That's what I'm talking about. 27-20 over the Raiders in Las Vegas with more Chiefs fans than Raiders fans, it looked like in the stands. The Chiefs own you, Las Vegas. They just do. I'm sorry. You should have never left Oakland. Well, it's hard to tell anybody they shouldn't have left Oakland, but going to Las Vegas for the Raiders killed their home field advantage. It really did. You go to Vegas, it's an international city. Vegas is an international city. That means Chiefs fans from everywhere, from Munich to Moscow, can fly to Vegas, because it's an international city, they can fly to Vegas, have a nice weekend, go see the Kansas City Chiefs play for the first time in their lives, and hopefully win a jackpot. And I think that's going to be the situation for the Raiders forever. That's why moving to Las Vegas is a dumb idea. But if you're leaving Oakland, I guess everything looks great. That was just an aside. I don't know why we pagged that on the end, but we did. It's a thought that I had. Hey, we'll have the midweek blitz, so like and subscribe so you don't miss everything up to date as to what's going on every week within Chiefs Kingdom. I'm Mike Bassano. Thank you so much for spending a little bit of your day with me as the Chiefs are now 7-0, 27-20 over the Las Vegas Raiders. Thank you so much. I don't even want to end the show because I'm having too much fun, but we are out of time. Have a great week.